Roll.
Nothing for the chairman to do around here. Anybody have something to destroy it?
Hello, and thank you everybody for coming tonight. Welcome to the Columbia Beach Town Council regular meeting, Wednesday, March 20th, 2024. We will call the meeting to order at 6 p.m. We ask that you stand for a moment of silence, which will be followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, we'll do a roll call of members. All members are present. I do have two additions to the agenda. Motion to amend the agenda. Right, I need this water. Pursuant to Virginia Code 2.2-3711A1 for the purpose of discussion and consideration of the resignation of a specific appointee of the town council, and pursuant to Virginia Code 2.2-3711A6 for the purpose of discussion or consideration of the investment of public funds where bargaining is involved, where if made public initially, the finance interest of the town would be adversely affected. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Do I have approval of the agenda as amended?
So moved.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Moving forward. Consent agenda, approval of the minutes of February 26th and February 21st.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
One thing I wanted to mention, something I got clarified in the meeting on the wastewater treatment plant. It was mentioned that we had used a couple $1 million of DEQ money, the $5.7 million on the central drainage area, which I didn't recall as being correct. So I clarified it with the town manager and assistant town manager, and they verified that we haven't spent any of it. We haven't used some.
Okay.
Just wanted to clarify that. I don't know if that would be something to put in the minutes or if that's just put in tonight's minutes to make sure the public's there.
Okay. All right, any further discussion? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. All right, consent agenda, moving right along. Council member announcements. I will start with Mr. Wood tonight.
You know, there are certain weeks that this gig is worthwhile, and this is one of those weeks. We've made some head and shoulder strides at the wastewater treatment plant, and that'll be outlined in detail a bit later. We had an extremely successful event with West Portland Social Services. They came to the town center. We were able to help 12 people, the oldest 87 years old. And that really shows we had Heather Oliver helping to make sure that we ran the flyers for it. We had Richard doing the training for free. And Mitzi actually got access for the community center. And Neighbor to Neighbor actually came and is volunteering to help with learning the forms and so forth that people need. And it's a proof of what makes Colonial Beach so great. It's what we do when we come together. And it was a very, very gratifying experience. So if every week was like this week, absolutely, I'll take more of it. That's all I got.
Mr. Williams?
Good evening, everybody. Just a few announcements. The Plan Commission had their meeting last Thursday on 14th. And a few things they discussed was the CIP and their coordination with the town manager. And so they're having discussions and getting up to speed on everything for this year's request. And they also discussed the zoning text amendment for Article 13 regarding parking. And basically, some of the things that were mentioned were looking at the space depth adjustment, whether that's needs to be adjusted or not, which is the depth of this, it's 15, 18, 20 feet, or however deep you want it to be. They also talked about changing historic structure to historic resource. And some of the conversation around that was just that there might be something that's not actually a structure, but it could be considered, historic in nature. They talked about the impacts, parking impacts on historic locations. And they said, I think from what I recall, they said it covers commercial only, what their discussion was. And they also talked about parking requirements for duplexes and accessory dwellings. I'm not sure if there's any changes or anything pertaining to the Article 13 that they were also discussed. And then they also scheduled a work session, which is, open to the public, just like all public meetings, for March 28th at 5:30. And I don't think they decided, they decided it's going to be here. Okay, so it's going to be located here for any members of the public who'd like to get a glimpse of what it's like for them to work on their work plan. They also did FOIA training, and now the Kelowna Beach Housing Redevelopment Authority is meeting tomorrow at 4:30. It's actually going to be located here for the first time, at least as far as I can remember, and it's open to the public. So something for people that they want to get involved, they can come and see what happens there. They're always looking for new members. So. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Ms. Robertson?
I might just have a couple of things. First, I want to thank Mrs. Allison for asking me to help with the scholarships from the high school. That was a lot of fun, and we have some really top-notch kids, and they are anxious to go to college and more. And it's just so refreshing to hear what they have to say. Makes you feel good. And the other one is, as some of you know, that I'm on the RCC Board of Directors, and I would like you, any child that is of that age, if they don't know what they want to do in life, start out with RCC. It's affordable. It has a fantastic group of professors and people who really want to help the Northern Neck. That's my plug.
Thank you. Dr. Zalzala?
Good evening, everybody. It's a good turnout tonight. Pretty day. I have a short report on the schools. I'm the liaison with the schools this year. Dr. Mitchell has met with the council members individually or in pairs to go over the proposed school budget. The one thing that we are trying to get prepared for is that the minimum contribution to the school budget from the town will increase this year. There are several factors which he'll go over in his presentation. Baseball season and softball season is in full swing. Please go out and support the girls and boys there at the high school. You can see the dates at cbschools.net. Just click on the athletics tab. There are 2 alumni games coming up, and those are great fun to watch. The first one is the Colonial Beach varsity baseball team, the 2024 alumni baseball tournament. They actually have enough people playing that they can do one or more games. So the first game is going to start at 9 a.m. this coming Saturday, March 23rd. Parking will be at Colonial Beach High School, $5 cash only for all day admission. The second one is going to be May 4th. That's going to be the alumni softball game. for the girls. And that one is they're going to play one starting at 5:30 and hoping to play a second one that'll actually be under the lights. And I don't see a price on that, but I'm sure a donation would, oh, and there it is, $5 admission for non-players. That was great fun last year. And then last but not least is Seussical the Musical, which starts on the 22nd. The first showing will be at 6 p.m. The 23rd, there'll be a showing at 6 p.m. Little competition with the alumni game there, but and then on March 24th, that Sunday, there'll be at 2 p.m. Those tickets are $7 for adults, $5 for children. You can get them at the school board office in advance, or you can buy them at the school the night of the play, or the day of the play. And that's all I have.
Ms. Brown?
Well, like everybody else, I have some good news as well. As I mentioned last time, Fire Escape, the Acostas had reached out to me since I'm public safety liaison to have a fundraiser for our fire department. Last Thursday, $280 was raised for the fire department, and that had to do with all the citizens coming out. $130 of that was from the bucket they had out front, and $150 was from burger sales. Everyone in my family ordered burger. They were only allowed to order burgers. Those people who were there that night had a burger. I want to also thank Chief Parsons. I know we made the right decision in having you as our chief, because I know that was a late night for you and you were on your own time, and you came and you hung out for a long time with us. So thank you, Chief, for supporting the fire department. One kind of funny story, well, not really funny, one incident happened during, we didn't get to have Chief Roby at the burger fundraiser because our fire department was responding to 2 separate fires in King George. So we weren't able to have the fire truck there, but that's why we were there, hopefully raising funds to support them. So again, thank you for that. Colonial Beach Police, you guys had a really busy week. If you get if you're on Facebook, social media, you saw there were several incidents over the weekend. I'm hoping it was because of a holiday weekend, but your hard work does not go unrecognized. You guys definitely had a busy week. The next neighborhood watch meeting is March 28th at the police station. It's at 5 p.m. The last time I was there, it was sold out, not one seat in the house. So talk about a really cool thing to get to know your neighbors and get to know your, excuse me. 5:30 p.m. Excuse me. It's 5:30 p.m. March 28th. If you want to go meet your neighbors, friends, and your local police, I highly recommend going. It's a great meeting. It's actually a lot of fun. So that's led by Lieutenant Thompson. One more thing, the Colonial Beach Volunteer Fire Department is a place to drop off stuffed animals till March 31st. This is super important. These stuffed animals are brought with our first responders when they are responding to a traumatic event or incidents. So this is really important. A stuffed animal is given to a child to kind of help calm them down. So please drop off a stuffed animal to Colonial Beach Volunteer Fire Department before March 31st. Last but not least, I'll give an early plug. April 13th, breakfast at the fire department, $12, 8 to 11. I'll make an announcement next month about that as well. Thank you.
Mayor, I forgot one thing. Dr. Mitchell asked me to give a huge shout out to Public Works and for their help with rehanging I think it's the backdrop nets that had come down, and they needed a crane to do that. And he really wanted to thank David Knapp in particular. He was just awesome.
Great. Pass it on, Chris. Mr. Allison.
Good evening, everyone. I'll give you an update from finance. There is an additional feature on our online payment portal. Users now can register on the portal. Once registered, users can elect the new auto pay feature for utility and real estate tax payments. Also, the golf cart decals are available in finance department. Please bring your inspection and insurance information to purchase your decal, or you can have the local inspector stations provide that decal when you go get it inspected. Business license applications are due to finance by May 1st, so get those in. That's all I have tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. couple of things. I'm gonna try to pull up my EDC agenda. So the EDC meeting was last Tuesday, and we were very fortunate to have Ben Prescott, the county administrator, attend and hear some of our collaboration and ideas. He has followed up just earlier today, actually, with me about working with VDOT to possibly add 2 additional crosswalks along Washington Avenue. So there may be further information on that if VDOT does work with us on it. Also the trash, I had issued a concern to the county about the trash from the dump to Food Lion along 205, which was really getting out of hand. And there's also follow-up on that, and they are trying to schedule pickup for that, whether through, generally they use labor from the jail to come and do highway trash pickup. So hopefully we'll see that shortly as well as we get ready for spring. And I had more EDC updates, but they're on this phone. Okay. Ms. Bachman brought up at the EDC meeting that we are a hub zone. If you don't know what that means, it means there's certain incentives for if you're a government contracted company for locating within hub zones. You can have an advantage in competitively competing for government contracts. So if you know new businesses that are looking for a place to locate and may need that kind of incentive, we just want to remind people that that is available in Colonial Beach, and that Colonial Beach is a part of the hub zone area. Also, you'll see on our agenda tonight, the Autism Awareness Month for next month. The proclamation is tonight though, and that was in support of autism awareness for April, turning your lights blue outside at night. And so if you see blue lights around town for the month of April, that's bringing awareness to autism. And that there is an initiative to also help autistic members of our community find jobs, in a job fair hopefully will be announced later this year related to that. And I know Kelly's here, so you probably have more updates than I have on my sheet. I wanted to let people know that the National Honor Society induction on Friday was, I attended and spoke at that event, and it was just my pleasure and honor to be there. I was in National Honor Society when I was a student at Colonial Beach High School, and it had gone defunct after COVID, and so this is a rejuvenation of that effort, and those students are bright, shining bright stars in our community and deserve this recognition. And so I was very glad to be a part of that, and thank you to the school staff that really put a lot of effort into getting that off the ground again. Also, you may see some promotion coming out about the Osprey Festival coming in April. The Osprey Festival has spurred into something called the Virginia Osprey Foundation now as well. So something that was an awareness event and promoting environmental quality in our community, and really just started as an event, has really created a substantial foundation now for the state of Virginia, the Commonwealth, and promoting the awareness of these migratory birds and our environment related to that. So kudos to them on that, and you'll see more coming online as we get closer to the festival. The Chamber of Commerce has applied for 3 BTC grants related to events. And so those grant applications have gone in, and there's a women's business networking breakfast on Monday, which I really look forward to. And this month we are of course celebrating Women's History Month, and so recognizing the women at the Women's Business Network event on Monday. If you are a woman in business, please, I invite you to come and join this group. It's an arms wide open group, and full of spectacular women in our community doing amazing things. And that's all I have. Next up is the town manager update. Ms. Tucker?
Good evening, everyone. So on March 8th, we contracted with a third-party operator to take over operations of our wastewater treatment plant. And the firm is in Bowdoin. So they have been on site for about 12 to 13 days now, and they've already made such great improvements to the plant that it really is, just don't have the words to just say how great that is. And this morning, we had one of the DEQ inspectors, as well as one of the regional directors for DEQ, come to town, and we did a walkthrough to the plant. And when I tell you they were so pleased with the improvements that they saw, they couldn't believe what Bowdoin was able to accomplish in such a short amount of time. Some of the things that we've already identified and taken the steps to try to fix and correct is we've replaced 2 of the 4 pumps that were not operating. We've ordered new effluent pumps, and we're waiting for delivery so that we can install them at the plant. We've reintroduced injection of air into the treatment process, and what that does is it's going to result in improved treatment functions. And I mean, the list just goes on and on of the different improvements that Bowdoin has done. But I think pictures tell a much better story. So I'm gonna ask John Simmons from Bowdoin to come up, and we have a few pictures here that we'll share with you, and he'll explain the before as well as the after, and some of the steps that they took to get those pictures to look like they look in the afters.
Welcome.
Welcome. Good afternoon.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you. Those of you who don't know me, I'm John Simmons. I'm the COO for Bowdoin Environmental Services. I've been on site here, getting the plant turned around with, another operator of ours and our CEO. So yeah, there's been a lot of improvements made there. And, one thing I want to tell everybody here is this is a very fixable problem. You have a really good treatment.
Is your mic on up there? Is the green light on?
It is not.
Press the button.
It's always on up there, just needs to be.
Where is
Oh,
it?
she says just get closer to it.
Closer. How about that?
Sorry.
Is that better? No, I don't think it's on.
Hold on. I just think what you're gonna say is really important to hear. I wanna make sure everybody can hear it, so I apologize for the interruption.
Oh, you're fine.
She's gonna turn it up in the back. Oh, that's better.
Yeah. Can you hear me now?
You gotta get real close to that line.
Real close.
There you go.
On everybody's ears. So I'll start over. I'm John Simmons. I'm the COO for Bowdoin Environmental Services. I've been on site since the startup here, and I've been on site with another operator of ours as well as our CEO. But one thing I really want to start off with to make sure everybody knows is that this is really fixable problem. The treatment plant that you do have is a very good treatment plant, and operating correctly and with the proper equipment, this thing is really going to produce some really good effluent. And with collaboration with Chris here in the Public Works, we've been able to accomplish a lot of things this week. So the pictures that Natasha speaks about, the one that you see here now, that's your secondary clarifier. And what this does is when the treated water goes into this clarifier, it separates. The sludge settles to the bottom of this tank, and the water that comes out the top that you see here is what goes through your sand filters and then, treated, disinfected, and sent to the bay. This picture here shows what we found when we first arrived. And, pay close attention to the top left of this water train that you see there. And then the next picture, you will get a good idea of the difference in clarity. So now if you look up, you can see that grate in that picture. That is the difference in the clarity of the water that you are now sending to the filters and to the bay. So that's a big improvement. That's a really good thing. So what we've managed to do is, establish good treatment with the equipment that you have there now. Getting the other items fixed is important for sure, but this is what we've been able to do with what you have there currently. So what we'll be able to do with what is, been ordered and the things that's gonna make the other improvements, it's gonna be, this is gonna be a really well operating treatment plant. And, I'm not sure what other pictures do you have there, Natasha? So this is your nitrification reactor. We call it an aeration basin. This is where your treatment, your first step of treatment really takes place as far as the biological process. A wastewater treatment plant is a biological treatment process, and it requires, it's living organisms, it's bacteria in this water that treats the sludge that comes in. And if you don't produce the right environment for those living organisms, they can't do what they're supposed to do. They'll actually die off. And what they need, most importantly, is oxygen. They need what we call dissolved oxygen. It needs a proper pH level. You want to keep between 7.2, 7.5. And you got to have the right food and the right ratio to be able to come in and treat this facility and keep the bugs active. And one of the biggest things that we did is this tank here, you can tell that there's no mixing, there's no air going to it. You kind of have a little bit of a land mass in the middle per se with grass growing on it. So in the next picture, you're going to see what happens to this once we apply air and it starts breaking those things up. And, notice that there's no longer grass in the middle of that with floating solids. And, Chris had sent, his crew over to come in and unclog one of the pipes that was leaving this tank and also clean the stuff off of the top. Once he was made aware of what we could do to fix this and how important it is. He sent guys over immediately, and we worked together. And the results of that is what you see in that first, or the second picture per se. So there's been a lot of improvements, and this is going to continue to get better. This tank here, this is what we call an equalization tank, EQ tank, and it's also part of the anoxic tank as well. The design of the plant, it acts as both. You can see here that that's full of sludge on top. It's got a lot of growth, vegetation, and that really is causing issues in the treatment process. There's no way that the plant can operate properly if you don't utilize these tanks the way they should be. And the mixer, had failed. The air, diffusers were failing, but it doesn't mean that there's nothing that you can do with that. So in the next picture, you'll see, by turning the air on and utilizing what is there, we were able to break that up a good bit. And what we're doing is we're breaking the solids apart and sending it through the treatment plant, processing it. And then what happens with that is it goes and we send it to the secondary clarifier in the first picture. And when that settles to the bottom of that tank, then we can send it back to another tank where we can process it, dewater it, send it to the landfill. So, it's going to take time. This plant has, really been holding solids for a long time because of the lack of operation. So it's a combination of equipment failures and proper operation. Maintenance is a big thing, and moving forward, we will have a maintenance program that will be followed. We will keep this equipment operating, but you can see what's done with what's there. Their pictures really do speak for themselves. And I think that's probably all the pictures that you have for now, but it really has been a big improvement. And it's all of us working together. We come in with, the operation knowledge, but, Chris, the way that they've helped us out by getting this stuff cleaned up, it's just going to keep getting better. So I know a lot of negative things have been said about it, but this really is something that we can fix. It's just going to take a little bit of time. And if anybody has any questions, I'll be glad to answer them.
Mr. Wood?
First of all, this news is like a cold beer in a hot summer day. This is the best news we've heard about the plant in a long time. I wanted to follow up. I'm assuming you were involved in the meetings with DEQ. Is that
Yes.
fair assessment? And so you have a breadth of experience working with DEQ in the past.
Yes.
And part and parcel of it, my assumption would be that once DEQ sees that we are taking positive steps forward, it's going to help mitigate some of the fines, for instance.
No, absolutely.
It's going to leave them with a better feeling of how we're going to continue, as well as with river keepers and all those sorts of folks. And the fact that we're going to mitigate fines, and the fact that we are now fixing problems as opposed to playing whack-a-mole, that helps keep the cost of operating the plant down.
Oh, for sure. just doing maintenance alone is gonna keep the costs down. You wouldn't have to be replacing some of this equipment if it hadn't been maintained properly. So overall, the money that you spend for the contract operations, it's gonna pay for itself tenfold as long as you keep this plant running like it should. As far as DEQ is concerned, what they expect is action. They are not gonna tolerate you doing nothing and ignoring it and thinking it's gonna go away. So being able to show them the progress that's made and telling them that we really do have a plan moving forward, that was good news to them. They were pretty excited to hear that, because they have a job to do. And as long as we continue to be upfront, we communicate with them, it's all about doing the right thing. And as long as you do the right thing, they're gonna work with you to get it done.
Just two last things. First of all, I want to thank Chris Rushdie. Congratulations on your appointment to the interim head of Public Works. Chris has been a warrior for this town for a long, long time. And it's good to hear that there's been this coordination between Bowden and you guys. I want to thank you for that. I also want to thank our town manager for not getting caught flat-footed with this, to have a qualified contractor ready to step in when we literally had none to it.
Yeah.
And so we did probably just about as well as we could do. And that's thanks to our town manager. Thank you, guys.
Madam Mayor?
Yes.
I think Rick said what all of us are thinking, but I would like to say it again. Particularly, thank you, Natasha Tucker, for bringing us this option, for doing the research. And thank you very much for stepping in and bringing your professionalism and experience to help us. It's like a breath of fresh air.
You're very welcome.
How long do you think it takes for it to clear itself and return itself to, proper operating condition with the changes that you guys have made?
The water leaving this facility now is crystal clear. It's just as clear as your drinking water. So I can tell you that right now, you have established proper treatment, and we are putting good water out into the bay. Yeah, it's just gonna be better.
Is there like a maintenance?
So, okay, hold on, because I didn't make sure we keep decorum on Robert's rules. But if there's more questions, there's public comment in just a little bit, and you're welcome to come up during that time. Okay? Are there any other council members that have any other, yes, Mr. Williams?
Yeah, this is working now. Just wanted to know, what are the next steps for you all and also for council? Because obviously, I think you're gonna help the town manager come up with a plan, like what we need to fix immediate high-risk problems, I'm assuming.
Yes.
And then after that, some of the bigger picture stuff, which may be way down the road.
Yes.
Do you have an idea of what that time frame looks like?
As far as time frame, a lot of it has to do with your lead times with your equipment that you're purchasing. And as far as getting everything worked out, the longest thing that's going to take to solve some of this is the buildup of solids. There's a lot of solids that's been held up in that tank with the air off the way it has been. And we're going to process that out through the treatment plant, and then we're going to, get it out and get it pressed into the landfill. But that's going to take some time, and it's really kind of hard to put, a time frame on that. But I'd say within the next, year and a half, we can probably get all that out. Because if you put too much at one time, it's going to upset the treatment, and that's what we don't want to do. So as far as, right now, what we've been doing is we've been, looking at the available funds. We've been looking at what we need right now and prioritizing that. And, me and Chris have sat down as well as with Natasha and decided, what needs to be done now, where the money is best served that you have available at this time. And it's a pretty good plan. And a lot of the things have already been purchased and we're just waiting for them to get here. So, time frame, I think we're all a little surprised, how quick, me not so much, because I knew that I could come in here and make an immediate difference as soon as I toured the facility. But, to put a realistic time frame, I'd say probably within the next year, we're going to have a lot of these issues resolved. The next steps with us as far as treatment is, we're going to bring some other people down and do some additional testing and kind of fine tune the treatment process. And as we're able to replace equipment, we'll just keep making improvements, and we will eventually, make adjustments to get this thing going where it needs to be. Another big issue we have is we don't really have the ability to run this thing, and it's not as automated as what it should be. It has the capability, but you've had equipment failures. So as we get these items replaced, then we'll be able to put this plant to where it can do most of the functions on its own, get controlled by the PLC. So being able to get the water in the plant and then out of the plant is priority. The lift station, the headworks that overflowed. We got to get those pumps replaced, and then the pumps that pump the water to the bay. After we do that, then we'll work on the mixers and those EQ tanks where you've seen the grass. And then once we go from there, we'll work on the automation. There was another company that come in today that had done the SCADA install, and they're looking at some of those, automated processes now to see what can be done to get some of it back online. But, every day we're in here, we're making improvements, and a lot of it, we're just, we fixed a lot of things kind of just in there doing what we do. So some of the items that may have been reported before as failed and need to be replaced really just needed to be adjusted and put back in service. And it's just something we're working through. That's a big facility over there. There's a lot of moving pieces to it, and we're going to work through it the best we can. And we're the right people for you to have here doing it. That's for sure.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Madam Mayor?
Yes, Dr. Sessler.
So are you telling me we don't ever have to send people into the bottom of those tanks to physically clean it out again?
We have a better way of doing it. Now, will nobody ever have to go in the bottom? They will. There's some diffusers, there's maintenance that you do in the bottom of those tanks, but you have to do that right. You have to do it safely. You plan, you schedule that. So what they were doing before to try to remove the solids, we definitely have a better plan for that. And Chris and I have discussed, what we're going to do. By putting the air on it and beating that stuff up per se, we'll be able to process it out, because then it gets into the water and we can make it move. But whatever we can't get out of the tanks, then we'll get inside there and use pumps to get it out of there and send it where it needs to go instead of what they were trying to do before. And I think really with being able to talk with Chris and come up with some ideas, throw some things back and forth, we have some better processes and ways of doing a lot of those things.
Thank you so much.
You're very welcome.
Anybody else? Okay, I just echo all the statements from everybody up here so far. The council is a group of elected citizens. None of us are wastewater treatment plant operators. And we rely heavily on people that are hired with licenses to come and tell us what we're supposed to be doing.
Right.
And make the best decisions with the information we have available to us. So I think that when we saw the moonshot report and there seemed to be so many operational things that it's a breath of fresh air. And I think, I hope we have, we just continue forward on, I think the priority for this body has been, and for our citizens has been, to make the improvements that need to happen. And, but you also have to have the right crew in there to do that. And so, we had to make changes in that sense as well. So anyway, I just really appreciate it, and I think we're heading in the right direction. I do want to say a couple of things that are on my mind and radar is, one of the things that I had, my understanding, which maybe is quite limited sometimes, of wastewater treatment, is that our biggest obstacle is still I&I, is a capacity issue that happens because of pipes underground that have either direct inflow attached to them from people's gutters or some other source, or have leaks because they are corroded or damaged or aged. And so the I&I problem, while you all are, in managing the plant and operationally, the plant is operating at a higher level, which means ultimately we may have added capacity because if you're able to manage it and you'll have space, right? Physical space in the tanks. That's one way to handle I&I, but the true solution to I&I is fixing the pipe issue, right, in the ground.
Absolutely. And a lot of your I&I issues, we've already been in discussions, Chris and I, talking about some of the points that he already knows is some of your worst problems, and we even discussed with Natasha some different ideas, about what our involvement could be in the I&I, even though, our contract is to do the wastewater treatment plant. We're also experts in dealing with I&I and the collection system. So my biggest advice to you is don't wait for the study to be completed to start making repairs. If you identify a major failure, you fix that now. If you wait until your study's done, you're still looking at a year or 2 years down the road before you're ever making repairs. We already know some of the places that need to be fixed, and it's just a matter of coming up with a process, a way to do that, to do it effectively. The I&I is definitely the biggest concern we have here. Now, over the weekend, not this weekend, but last when we first took over the facility, we had a rain event, and what we were able to do is to increase the flow through the plant to really see what its capabilities were. We took advantage of that to see what it would do. We run a lot of water through there and didn't have any issues with it. So will we be able to handle every storm right now? No. Until these influent pumps, it has, the pumps in place and are functioning, we do have a risk there. But we also have a plan of what we can do to limit that risk as well. And that would be bypassing the headworks altogether and feeding the EQ tanks with the force main, which is the pressure from the lift stations pumping to the plant. Now, your other failure would be the pumps pumping the treated water to the bay. Okay, now, if that is a problem, it's much better to have a spill of treated water than a spill with raw water. Treated water that's been disinfected, we don't want it to hit the ground. We want it to go to the bay, but if that does happen, that's not nearly as bad as the raw. So there are pumps ordered. They are, they're probably now, I guess, 4 more weeks out. Would that be right? Or maybe even 6, but.
It might be a little more than that.
Yeah.
Supply chain issues.
Right, so we are working through that. What we've come up with though is, a plan as to what to do with the headworks if we do have a really big rain event. So we're definitely keeping an eye on it, and we are going to work with you all to speed that process up, getting that fixed.
So I will continue to pray every time it rains.
Definitely pray.
Okay, that's been going on, so, the second thing I have, and I just wanna make sure, that everybody understands, so the I&I threat is still very real. We can be operating the plant at, the best capacity possible, but the fact is that if we're flooded out with enough water that goes into it, that there is a time lapse to treat it. And so if it comes in faster than we can get it out, that's when sometimes these things happen. But, and that had been, we had all kind of been told that's would keep happening so long as we need to fix the pipes in the ground.
We need to fix the pipes in the ground. But another thing that the citizens can do to do their part is to see if they have sump pumps, under their house in a crawl space that are pumping into the sewer system, or your gutters going into the sewer system. You don't want that. That is adding to the problem. So what the community can do to help the situation is find out where your gutter water is going, find out where your sump pump water is going. If it is going into the sewer, it needs to be fixed. And that would be a good place for everybody to start. So, the I&I needs to be resolved.
The next thing on my mind related to this is the alarm system, the SCADA system, and the operations of the electronics there. Probably the biggest threat of why the July 4th incident was, at the level that it was because no one was notified and we weren't on 24/7 shift at the time. And so I know we've been on 24/7 and that's been a real big stressor to the labor force there. And I can understand that. I just want to say how much I appreciate everybody who's been working in public works and at the plant throughout this time period to keep that vigilant on it. But that's not normal to operate on 24/7, and that the reality is there should be systems in place that have alarms and backups and secondaries to them so that you do not have to have a 24/7 labor force there. And so how is the operation of these alarm systems? Are you personally contacted? Who is being contacted if something were to go off?
Well, what we found with the alarms when we took over is they are not working. So the alarm registers with the PLC, but it was not calling out when the alarm was activated. So we identified this problem. Chris then reached out to the company that put the PLC in there. They came to the site today, and we're working on getting that resolved, and they're gonna have the numbers set in there where, the project manager for Bowden is gonna be the first contact, I will then be the second. And we're gonna make sure that those alarms are working and we do get those notifications. Another thing that we have done is, with Natasha, even today, we discussed, 3 other, points that need additional alarms and call out boxes. And Chris is already working with the manufacturer to supply those items. So that's something we're gonna address pretty quickly. That needs to happen. Right now what we have is the operators who are on staff, every 3 hours we've created a group chat with all of the operators. Every 3 hours, they have to send us pictures of the computer screen to show us tank levels, flows, things like that, so we can then give direction back to them if changes are necessary, but it just gives additional oversight. Instead of one person being there looking at that information and trying to decide what to do, we have 9. So that's a lot of improvement there, but that's something that we're going to address pretty quickly.
Yeah, we're still being physically vigilant and
Yes.
not letting technology help us with that.
Yes.
One day, my hope is that we will be running, at least once a year, maybe twice a year, however often it needs to happen, a mock emergency situation where something has failed on purpose to see that and ensure that all these things go as smoothly as you can in an emergency situation. Just operationally wise, I think that after what we've been through and experienced, they have a lot of experience with emergency situations now, but more than they should.
Yeah.
But that we should be practicing ahead of time of how these things are operating. So I look forward to, when we can get to that point where we are being proactive about emergencies to the point where they're fake, and we are doing it as a practice
Absolutely.
rather than the actual response pressure that we've been under so far.
Yeah, and that's important. I think that would be a good idea. And that's kind of what we did last weekend when it rained, is we just took advantage of having all that extra flow coming in to see really how far we could push it to where it would really be a problem. So we're always creating little mock disasters to see what our capabilities are. And, you're always testing your alarms, and that's something that's done on a regular basis. You have to test the alarms. It can be there, it can be installed, but if you're not testing it to make sure it's working, then you don't even know if you're getting the alarm when you need it.
Right.
So things fail, and there's no way to predict when they fail. They fail when they fail. And if you're not testing it, you're not going to know if it's not working. So one thing we're going to do is we're going to start testing that equipment. We're going to have an actual maintenance program in place, and it's going to be documentation that shows, that reminds you what you have to do, and then you have to initial that you've done it. So a lot of these issues are going to get worked out.
Thank you. I think Mr. Williams had his hand back up.
I'm just curious, in the past, Public Works has to go out with a jet truck and to clean up the mess. I'm assuming, is that your task now, or do we still have to collaborate between the two as far as who's cleaning up? Like if we have millions of gallons of raw sewage in our treatment plant?
That would still be the Public Works, yeah.
Would you guys coordinate with them, or how?
We would definitely work with them.
Okay.
Yeah. I think now Chris realizes that, we'll kind of get involved in all of it. We're here to help, just because our contract is based on operations at the plant, we're still going to help you guys in any capacity that we can. So, we're here to be part of the solution.
And then just one more thing, you had mentioned how citizens can be proactive and help by making sure that they're not connected to the sewer and stuff like that. Any quick tips on how they could tell if they were connected? I'm assuming like a cap off of their sewer clean out in your yard would be one.
That would be the
example.
easiest way to do it, is when it's raining, and go out and pull the cap off to see if you do have a lot of flow coming. And, if you're not using the water in the house and you have water coming through that pipe, then there's a problem. So, it would be a good idea to call a local plumber if you have them, or, anybody can reach out to the wastewater plant if they want to if they want to be sure. I don't mind help and I don't mind giving advice. But the best thing you really would do would be to call a local plumber or ask your neighbor who may know, a little bit about it. It's not gonna be real difficult to tell. Like if you have a crawl space and you have a pump in your crawl space, follow the pipe coming out of the pump, find out where it goes. If it goes into the same pipe that your toilet goes into, that's going to the wastewater plant. If it is piped in any way into your bathtub, your washing machine, all of that goes to the wastewater plant. So it needs to have its own pipe and it needs to go outside of the house.
Thank you.
Yes, Mr. Wood?
With the idea in mind of your concept testing, that's obviously a good thing. I testing, so that are we looking at doing pressure tests? Are we looking at doing hydrology studies? How does that work with GIS so that we can identify those places most likely to fail? So that we can
What you do is you look at your shed to see the direction of the water's moving in the area of your lift stations. And, we have asked for those maps and Natasha's going to provide that to us so we can take a look to try to identify some of your areas that is going to be most likely to have a problem. And what they're going to do in the future as far as, the I believe we're going to do some cammering, Chris, the Public Works and all is still responsible for that. So there's a lot of different things that you can do to identify where your worst areas are. You all have just installed emission control systems in all of your lift stations. That keeps up with your pump run times, whether the pump's working, whether it's not. So what you do is you monitor those run times. And if the average run time during the week is 20 hours, and through a rain event, you get a lot of extra run time on those pumps, then that tells you that that's usually where your area is. You have some lift stations that receive water from 3 other lift stations, kind of like your main lift station down where the old treatment plant used to be. It's several places pumping to that one station. So looking at the runtime on that station necessarily is going to tell you what you need to know. You need to look at the smaller lift stations that pump to the main one to see which one of those stations are running more hours during a rain event. And we're also going to get access to that data so we can be involved in monitoring, those things as well. And I'm pretty sure that someone had said earlier that, the firm that you have helping you out with that is also monitoring those run times. But the mission run times is really going to help you pinpoint that more than anything at this time.
So studying those would obviate the needs for some of those more exotic solutions like the hydrology.
Absolutely. Yeah, the hydrology study, I don't know that I necessarily go there at this time. I would probably try to look at your run times first and then focus on those areas that, serve that lift station.
Thank you.
The Dewberry report that we had was all evaluated on run times of pump stations.
So if you already have that information,
Yeah.
We'll get that. They'll send that to us. We'll take a look at it as well. But that's really your best tool right now. And then after that,
Yeah.
camera the lines.
Anything else? Will you be here monthly?
Me here doing a meeting, yes.
Okay.
I can come give you a monthly report.
Will you give us slides ahead of time so Heather can publish them with the
We
agenda?
can do that.
Okay, she publishes it on the Friday ahead of our Wednesday meeting.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. Next is budget process update, Natasha?
So this is just a brief update on where we are with the fiscal 25 budget planning. So we've already received requests from outside agencies. Lisa and I have met with department directors and we've discussed their operational needs for the upcoming fiscal year. So right now we're working with Davenport and Berkeley so that they can provide us with an all-inclusive view before we finalize the budget and present it to you all. So this is just the timeline of the budget from January to adoption. So right now, so this is the update for March to you all. We are meeting with the schools for their budget, and Dr. Mitchell will also give his presentation this evening of the budget to you all on April 3rd. We will have a meeting to present the budget. Now, this meeting will begin earlier than normal. It's a 4:00 time where we'll present to you and you all will get to ask questions of what's presented. On April 17th, a public hearing will be held on the fiscal year 25 budget as well as the tax rate. I have 2 dates here, I'm sorry. It is April, double check my calendar here, apologies for that. It is April 17th, so that April 19th date is not accurate. So April 17th is the public hearing. And in May, we'll receive direction and discussion from council regarding steps to take regarding the budget. May 15th, the school board's budget will be approved, and in June, council will approve the fiscal year 25 budget and also set the tax rate. So this is where we are. Next steps for us is going to be April 3rd, when we will present the proposed budget to you all.
Thank you. Referrals to the planning commission, I don't have any. Anybody have anything? Okay. Presentation, our district supervisor, Mr. Trivett, is out of town today, so I think we'll just move forward to Glen Beach Public Schools. Welcome.
Good evening. I'm not Dr. Mitchell. But Dr. Mitchell is on his way. He's right next door. He's coming over to give his presentation. I'm just stalling for right now. That's all I'm doing.
Is he checking a book out at the library?
I don't know. I think he is. He should be on his way. Can you give?
So Dr. Addo, how are things physically in the school?
Things are wonderful, wonderful. We're having a great time. As the mayor mentioned, our highlight from last week was the NHS award ceremony. We were just excited about what happened, and our sophomores, juniors, and seniors that were inducted were just fabulous. So happy for them. But besides that, we are doing wonderful. And we're glad our board members are here with us this evening to support Dr. Mitchell in his presentation. Oh, I thought that was Dr. Mitchell.
I believe we're doing some construction.
Yes, just to give you an update on some of the capital improvement right now. We just completed the bleachers in the press box. It's completed. We're just waiting on final inspection from Westmoreland to take care of that. We have a renovation to our concession stand that's coming briefly. And we have contacted and signed a contract with Ashley McGraw, an architectural firm, to design in front of our high school entrance to make it really beautiful. In addition to that, to build a multi-purpose building that will house, our weight room, a new weight room that we'll design for the athletic and PE classes. In addition to that, we'll have some more storage and offices for operations. Well, he's ready to rock and roll. He's not alone.
He said he's gonna leave you up there, I think.
You can go ahead, you know it, just go and do it.
Don't listen to him. He's ready to roll. I can't replace him. But anyway, things are going very well, and we're very excited about what's going on and the improvements that are going on in the building, and also on campus. So look forward for changes. Hopefully we'll bring the high school up to speed and make it look as presentable as the elementary school. That's our hope, is to bring some equity with, so our high school students don't feel like they go to a dungeon. That's what we've heard. We feel like we come to a prison or a dungeon. So we try to brighten it up a little bit so it feels like a good learning environment for them. Okay, without any further ado.
Welcome, Dr. Mitchell.
Oh, man. All right. I am so sorry. I was doing a presentation to a group of aspiring school leaders from Fairfax County, where I used to work. And unfortunately, ironically, it was at the same time as the town council meeting. And so I figured I could do both things. So thank you all. Madam Mayor, town council members, of course, community. Thank you all for allowing us to present the fiscal year 25 proposed budget. So whoever has the clicker or screen, you got me? Great. All right. So school board members, thank you all. I see we have a few, I think 3 or 4 members. Yes, and Patrice, thank you. And Ms. McClure, thank you for being here. And I think, and Audrey says, thank you all. They are our board members. Unfortunately, Laura and Michelle couldn't be present. Next slide. So in our district, we went through a little bit of a process last year. And what we did was we sort of like took a stab at our vision and really tried to make a few minor changes. And the biggest tweak that we did was really, what are we preparing kids for? Because we always hear about this economy and the global economy and things always changing. And the jobs today are not the job we're gonna have 2-3 years from now. And what we're teaching kids now is gonna be very different from 5 years. So we changed our vision to really focus on really providing equitable experiences for all kids. So whether you're in 5th grade, 6th grade, whether you're Black, whether you're white, whether you're Hispanic or Asian, we want every kid to be successful. Next slide. And then we did a new strategic plan. And so the budget I'm going to present tonight is going to be all about that new plan. We did a budget survey. Everything we got from the budget survey is going to be in the budget that I'm going to present tonight. We had 5 goals. The biggest one I'm going to focus on out of all 5 is really about goal number 2. How do we provide a high quality learning environment for all kids? Okay, that's what we are. We are about education, educating kids, and that is the goal. Next slide. So when we educate kids, it's not just about academics. It's not just about the idea of teaching history or math or language arts or biology. It's about the whole child. And some of you in the room, I know the mayor was, and to the far left, you'll see her name. There's the little story time with Mayor Schick. That's important because it's getting people from the community into our school to do what's best for kids. You see in the middle where it says Career Fair, October 12th. A lot of folks from the Chamber of Commerce help us put this together. Coming up this weekend is our musical, Susical the Musical. You didn't get your ticket, please get one.